Hello there, it's Bernardo here. Jumping straight into it on today's video, we're going to be talking about football for me. Some may call it soccer, others may call it football. So, as you can see from the title of the video, today we're going to be talking about the FIFA Club World Cup. And I am going to be telling you why I think it will most likely flop. I guess just giving a background on what this tournament is, it is a 32 team tournament that mimics the national World Cup that happens every 4 years. And this tournament is FIFA is introducing it for the first time this year in 2025, and it's going to feature um, mostly the champions of every continent over the last 4 years. The qualifying methods vary a little bit. You could win your continental tournament like a Champions League or Libertadores, and that would be an automatic bid to this tournament. Or you could also qualify via ranking. This is, it's a bold move by FIFA, announcing this tournament a couple years ago and how it was going to happen. It's innovative, is new, and of course there's risks involved with doing something like that. It's a big pivot from what they usually do, which is the 7 team tournament at the end of every year. Each continental champion, usually in the month of December, they play the Club World Cup in the yearly format, which funnily enough is still going to be maintained every single year, even with this Club World Cup that's going to happen every 4 years. This big tournament with 32 teams. Um, it starts. The opening match is on June 14th, so next Saturday, and it's between Inter Miami and Al Ahly from Egypt. And I think that's that I'm going to talk about this game specifically because it kind of shows um, it's a smaller picture of the struggles that FIFA is having pushing this tournament, marketing wise, selling tickets, etc. And I think by analyzing this game, it paints a good picture of why this tournament most likely will flop commercially and financially. Um, I think that there's a few reasons why that's going to happen. The first of them being, I don't believe that the European teams are taking this tournament very seriously. It happens at the very end of their calendar year, and these players they most likely want to go on vacation. They want to travel. These calendars are extremely packed. If you're a football fan like I am, their calendars are extremely packed. Some with over 70 games a season. How it happens in Brazil. I follow Brazilian soccer or Brazilian football a lot. So they've already played all these games in their season, and now they just want to have some rest. But now they have another month that they most likely will have to be playing if they make it far in the tournament, and they have to prepare for it. They have to be here for it in the U.S. So I question how serious the European clubs are going to take this tournament. You got players now that are also playing in the Nations League final, Spanish and Portuguese players and French players that were involved in the semifinals. These guys, some of them have just played the Champions League finals last week. Now they're involved in the Nations League, and then next week they got to be flying to the U.S. to play the Club World Cup. So I don't know how serious these teams are going to be taking this tournament. We'll have to see. But I think that's one of the issues with it. And the European clubs, of course, are the biggest commercial appeal that this tournament could have. They're all coming to America, some of the biggest clubs in the world, and competing against teams from all over the place, right? So I think that's their biggest commercial bid, and it is questionable if these teams are going to go all out on the tournament or not. I think another questionable aspect in this scenario that might contribute to the flopping of the Club World Cup is it being hosted here in the U.S. Of course, the World Cup's going to be hosted here next year, so FIFA's using this event almost as a test event for the World Cup next year. So I mean, on that looking at it from this point of view, it makes sense that it's being hosted here. But as far as talking about it commercially, you're hosting it here in the U.S. It's a country that doesn't necessarily have the club football appeal. It doesn't have a big club football culture. Of course, they have the MLS here that's been growing over the last few years, but I think it hasn't grown to the point that they thought it would yet. Of course, they have some big stars playing here now, but most of them are at the at the at the end of their careers. They're finishing off their careers here. So the MLS, I don't think, has yet created the appeal that it's striving to make. I hope that it does in the near future. So the club football culture in the U.S. is not necessarily established. So I think that FIFA maybe didn't do a good enough job marketing this tournament here in the U.S. A lot of people that I talk to, about this, they don't even know that this event is going to happen, or they don't even know what this event is, unless you're a diehard soccer fan, you're a football fan. So I don't know if FIFA is going to have enough time now to pivot their marketing strategy with about a week until the tournament starts in order to sell more tickets. And again, going back to the Inter Miami Al Ahly game, which is the opening game next Saturday, less than 20,000 tickets have been sold as of yesterday on a 65,000 seat stadium, which is Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. So, FIFA had to chop down the prices of these tickets, taking into consideration when the draws were first announced in December. These tickets for this game specifically were going for around $350. Now they're going for around 55. So you can see the desperation there in selling these tickets. And this opening game between Inter Miami and Al Ahly, you wonder why they would host it in Miami, which is, Inter Miami is the local team there. The fan base is already used to going to watch the team's games in Miami. So why not move this game to a different location, a different market, and take advantage of that huge commercial attractive, which is going to watch Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, Sergio Busquets, and Jordi Alba play, which are huge, successful, world-renowned players. Why not move it to a different location, like maybe New York or maybe California, where fans would be more compelled to go watch these players play. They're at the far stretch of their career. I think Messi and Suarez are around 38, so the opportunities to see these players play live are stretching thin. So I think FIFA could have done a better job of exploring the commercial opportunities, especially with this opening match that we're talking about here. Um, I think another aspect is you again, considering that the U.S. doesn't have a strong club football culture, you're going to have teams that maybe don't have the same commercial appeal as an European team, or even some South American teams that are going to be playing here that have a huge fan base, like Flamengo, Boca Juniors, River Plate. Um, these teams are all in the tournament, and there's a big fan base that could be here in the U.S. also. But I wrote down some games here, but you have an Ulsan versus Mamelodi Sundowns. It's a tough sell on a game like that. For you to get a crowd, especially in the U.S., to take time out of their day to go to the stadium, buy a ticket, and go watch the game. Um, it's a rough one. Even you got another game here. You have PSG versus Botafogo in California, and the tickets are going for only $33. I mean, PSG are the reigning Champions League champions. Like they just won it last week, and Botafogo is a team who just won the Libertadores next year. They're the reigning Libertadores champions. So, and these tickets are going for very cheap, and they're playing at the Rose Bowl, which is a 90,000 seater. So, those aspects of there are some games, especially in the group stage, that are going to be very very hard to sell for FIFA, and you wonder if they're going to be giving out tickets for free in order to sort of mitigate that lack of of fans. There are going to be cameras, or these matches are going to be broadcasted. So if the flop consolidates itself, which is what we're speculating here in this video, it's going to be clear from the stands from when these games are filmed. The stands are going to look empty. So I wonder if FIFA is gonna give tickets away to sort of fill in those spots. It's going to be interesting to look at what their strategy is going to be here. So if this flop does come to fruition, this commercial flop that we're speculating here, you wonder what FIFA is going to do. coming forward if they're going to keep this tournament. Of course, the reasons for them hosting it are simple. It's revenue, it's sponsors, it's broadcasting. Like every product, if you're making something happen, you have the intent of selling it and profiting on it. But if you don't, then what do you do? So I wonder what steps are going to be taken in the future if this does come to pass as a commercial flop for FIFA. I think that I get the appeal of it. I like the idea of a big club World Cup, the way that they're putting it together. But maybe the marketing around it and the buildup wasn't done in a way that would attract football fans from all over the world to maybe travel to the U.S. To watch it. I don't know that that was done, or that it has the same appeal as a national World Cup, like the one we've had, since forever, since the 50s. So I think that appeal has to be worked on for the next one, which is going to be hosted 4 years from now in 2029. I wonder how they're going to create that buildup, um, so that they don't have the same commercial failure that, as of now, is apparent for this one. Looking at it from a football fan's perspective, maybe they could have done a better job marketing these games locally, from each city and where they're going to be happening. Like, for example, you're in California, uh, or in LA, where Botafogo and PSG are going to play. Is like, hey, the European champions are going to come play here. So maybe they could have broken down the marketing and done a better job in each individual city marketing the games that are going to be hosted there, and using these big European teams like Madrid, PSG, Chelsea, which are of course big commercial attractives for this tournament, and marketing these games locally, which it doesn't seem like it was done. So you wonder how what the learning experiences that FIFA is going to gather from this specific tournament, and if they're going to continue in the next 4 years or not. And like I mentioned earlier, I do think that there's a big chance that the European teams maybe aren't going to be at full force, at their full power. So, as a football fan myself, it's going to be exciting to see some opportunities that may arise from this. You might see. I'm a big Flamengo fan, so you wonder if Flamengo is going to be able to take advantage and go far in this competition, or even a Palmeiras, or a River or a Boca Juniors, which I think would be the biggest threats to these European clubs in this competition would be the South American teams. So you wonder if they'd have the opportunity to go far. It would be really cool to see a South American team. I don't know, like a semifinal of an event like this. I do think that these teams might have a shot, considering that the Europeans might not be at their full might. So we'll see. It'll be really exciting. I think that it becomes a factor to this tournament, which you would think would be dominated by the Europeans. If you're looking at it at a at a perfect world scenario, the Europeans should dominate this competition, and there shouldn't be, I don't know, a top four without. In a perfect world scenario, there should be a top four um, without any European teams. It should be all Europeans in the top four. But I do believe that all these aspects that we just mentioned, end of calendar, maybe players aren't as excited, or FIFA maybe didn't do a good enough job making this tournament matter for players as much. So that, I think, that opens a window for these South American teams, or maybe even some African teams, to come and take advantage of it. Maybe reach a semifinal or potentially a final. I think that'd be very cool to watch. And as a Flamengo fan, that's what I'm hoping for. So yeah, let us know down below if you think that the Club World Cup is going to flop or not. If you're going to be watching it, I'd really like to know. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching, and always forward.